Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tabletop RPG Showcase. Uh, I'm Steven,
I'm Dan.
and we're looking at Atomic Highways, a post-apocalyptic role-playing game by Colin Chapman. This was published in, let me see if I can find a date. Do you know when
It
this was
was,
published? 2009.
yeah, I was gonna say it was a while ago.
This is an 11-year-old game. Oh no, we've dated this video. How could we? But yeah, so this is a post-apocalyptic system. It's free if you want to download it. And it's I've got some thoughts on it. Dan's got some thoughts on it, but I'll let
Yeah,
him take this from here because he's definitely got a lot of thoughts on this.
I've got quite a few things I like about it. There's some things that are not so great. Like all systems, they have their ups and downs.
You know what?
Um,
Let's just start by getting into the setting,
yeah, exactly.
as we usually do.
Um,
This is where my first problem begins with it. Honestly, there isn't one. Not really.
yeah,
Like
it's
this
the
is
Earth
the
is
most.
destroyed. It's
Sorry,
Mad
you go
Max,
ahead. I'll let you.
essentially.
Yeah, I'll let you go with it.
The best way I can describe it, and this is the best description I've seen, it's Mad Max meets a low-tech Fallout. Um, there's the Earth had an apocalyptic war, nuclear winter. Most knowledge on the Earth was lost. Um, nuclear After the nuclear winter, mutants started cropping up, and all the fun stuff with that. Casting out, killing, and over time, settlements started growing. People started surviving. The winter ends, and that's where the Mad Max bit comes in. There's armored, mashed together vehicles everywhere. All kinds of different settlements. You got military, well, not military, because there isn't one. um, we'll actually go over the different kinds of settlements later. But armed and armored vehicles guard the roads, escort trade rigs, ferry goods and people. Raiders steal and slaughter from caravans, towns, and homes using crude vehicles. And the majority of the gameplay is going to be dealing with settlements, raiders, caravans, or exploring ruins.
Now,
And
see,
that's the setting.
yeah, and this is sort of where I start to have a problem with the system. Like, I'm not gonna lie. If you like world building and making your own setting and like doing your own thing with a game, this game is
It's
great.
great.
You're gonna love it because it is as setting agnostic as you can get for a post-apocalyptic game that I've seen. There is
It's
nothing
kind
tying it down to any setting whatsoever. Like, the setting they give you is the most basic post-apocalyptic setting I've ever seen. Like, it just checks all the boxes of like, okay, barter towns, check. Okay, farms, check. Okay, mutant enclaves, check. Old world things, check. you know,
hmm
lost technology sometimes, check. Everything's wearing down, so there really isn't much cool stuff, check. Cars, check. Mutants, check. Whatever. It's just hits all the boxes of basic ass post-apocalyptic without actually adding anything really new or unique. But in a way, if you want to world build and do your own thing, that's great because it's not tied down to anything and you don't have to incorporate anything from their setting into yours. You can just do whatever you want. Now,
See, I, sorry.
for me personally, I want a setting with my post-apocalyptic because honestly, I'm not much of a world builder, just going to lay it out there, and I really like working with other people's worlds. And this doesn't really provide much for me to work with. But that's just
I
me.
like to
That's
build
just
my own worlds.
Yeah, so for someone like you, Dad, it's great because you get to build your own world, you get to do everything you want, and it's gonna be really cool, you know. And it's
Yeah.
loose enough that you can do whatever you want without having to worry about something not fitting in.
Yep, and any players who read the book won't read that, all these things are linked to all these things. No,
Exactly.
you don't have to worry about any lore reasons or anything.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about them reading the book, and being like, "Hey, but what about this thing?" And you're like, "No, we're not doing that." But it says in here, no. It's all that they give you can be easily incorporated into any setting you want to build. Any post-apocalyptic setting you want to build. It's not even a problem. So yeah, setting pretty much as bare bones basic post-apocalyptic as you can get, but for world builders, that's a good thing. For people like me who want a world, not so great. But let's move on to the mechanics. The mechanics actually pretty simple, but I kind of like that. A lot of post-apocalyptic games like to get heavy, or like to get like fancy or unique or whatever with their rules, unless you're powered by the apocalypse, but that's a different matter. This is just sort of nice basic dice. It's pretty simple. You just I'll let you describe it, Dead.
Second. Trying to remember what page that's on. 61, there we go. The basic way it works, it's called the V6 engine. Basically, because everything uses 6-side dice, nothing else. So you use where the hell is it? There we go. Using skills. So say you want to hit something, you just use your melee skill. All rolls are exactly the same, no matter what. You use your attribute, you use your skill, and you roll the number of die equal to your attribute. Any 6 is a success. And then... Oh, sorry, I missed a part on there. Yeah, I'm apparently missing stuff. My bad.
Yeah, let's back it up. Yeah, so what it is you roll dice equal to your attribute, and like he said, any 6 is a success.
And they explode.
Yes. However, you also have skills. What you pick a skill that is relevant to the roll.
Yeah.
And you add that. You can add those points into your dice to bump them up to a 6, to bump them up to a success. It's kind of like Numenera in that regard, where you can use your skill points to adjust your roll in order to get successes, to make it happen.
I hadn't scrolled down far enough to see that bit. That's what I was missing. So I'm just being blank, apparently. Yeah. And some rolls are attribute only, such as lifting something heavy.
Yeah. So yeah, like if no skills apply, you can just roll your attribute. And the way attributes work, just pure attribute rolls work, is it's the same as a skill roll, but you use your attribute points to determine your dice pool, as well as points to adjust your rolls.
And basically everything uses just that same system. You'll either use attributes and skills or just attributes. They have a decent variety of skills. And then, of course, there's critical failures when all dice come up as 1. So you want to avoid doing rolls if you have low stats.
Yeah, the lower your stats are, the more likely you are to crit fail. Now, another thing is the difficulties are relatively easy. Like, your most usual difficulty, like what's considered difficult is just getting one success.
Yep.
It's pretty easy to succeed in this system.
Well,
So
even that, it's
like it's designed to be very cinematic in a way. Like it's designed to be for you to be big damn heroes. Like usually succeeding more often than you're failing.
Imagine you roll only 2 dice and you don't have a good skill. That's difficult.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
I mean, only if you have good stats and skills related to that is a 1 or a 2 or even a 3 except decent or easy to hit.
Yeah.
And that's if you get a good roll. But if you don't, you're going to have problems.
This is true. Now, I kind of like the way the main mechanics work just because they provide player agency while not being overly heavy. Like, they're not complex. It doesn't take a lot to explain the rules. And once you got down, it's really, really easy. And it does provide player agency.
You don't have to go over a lot of stuff and have to keep checking back as you play.
Exactly.
Once you get a section or two under your belt, you're going to go, oh, okay, I remember this. I remember this. I remember this.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, like I said, it does provide player agency, which is really nice in games nowadays. Like, it's not just like, oh, bad roll, sucks to be you. It's like, no, your skill points will let you physically adjust that roll and physically like have some feeling of agency in that roll instead of it just being like dice came up bad.
Even if you do absolutely horrible, you can
pull it out.
at least get 1 or 2 successes so you don't completely screw up.
Yeah, if you've got a good skill, it's very, very difficult to fail entirely.
Or at least fail terribly.
Yeah. Now They've also got this thing called Fortune, which is what I like to call your cinematic points. A lot of systems use these nowadays for everything from Fate to lots of stuff. We'll probably encounter that. This is the first game that we're sort of reviewing and showcasing that has it. But trust me, there's going to be a lot of systems that have that in them. So what these allow you to do is these are just points that let you, bend fate a bit. They let you do some fun things. Like you can spend a point to gain extra successes.
1 point per success. You really need to succeed.
Yeah.
But you cannot use it if you get all ones.
Yes. Now an optional thing is you can perform a dual action, allowing you to do 2 actions in a given round instead of just 1 by spending 2 fortune. You can do a plot tweak that they call it, which lets you sort of like adjust the environment or a situation just a little bit at the GM's approval. For 2 points, you can do a plot twist where it's a big change to what's going on. That costs 5 fortune. You can reduce an opponent's successes.
Hell out of your GM.
Yeah. You can reduce an opponent's successes, reduce damage, and re-roll bad stuff. And there's lots of ways you can earn fortune, but usually it's like mostly up to the GM.
Start with 5 as well every session.
Yeah, you always start with 5. You can't retain more than 10, and it's usually doled out by the GM, usually for good role playing and other things
cool
like
dialogue, cool stunts descriptions. You enjoy the game, quite literally dedicated play. You show dedication and everyone's enjoyment.
Mm-hmm. If you go balls to the walls, then you're more likely to get fortune. So fortune favors the bold, quite literally. All right, so let's talk about character creation. That's usually the next thing on our docket.
Actually, communities is before creation in this book.
Yeah, but I think
don't really need to go over that.
Let's face it. What communities are there going to be that you haven't seen?
There's quite a lot, actually. There's like 2 pages of them.
Yeah, but you've seen them all in every post-apocalyptic thing. It's
True.
just it's everything that you've seen before. It's it's your town, your big city towns where trade happens. It's your isolated farms where people don't really trust you. It's the old world remains where people have holed up with all their science stuff and are basically still somewhat actually know about the old world. It's your
Yeah.
mutant populations. It's your raiders. It's your nomads, and it's all the same stuff. We've seen this all before. It's nothing new.
Yeah, that's true.
So character creation. Character creation is pretty straightforward, pretty basic. As with most of this system, it's pretty basic, but it works.
Jump to the second book for this for a moment
Let-
because it does have the race options.
We will get to that. I think we should start with core and then we talk about what that expansion provides, because it is significant, but there is a good segue point, and that's with the
Mutations.
with the mutations. That's a good segue point for it.
Yeah.
So you just get your concept together. You distribute attribute points. You get 18 to divvy up among your stats.
You have to have a minimum of 1 in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, you have 12 to divvy up.
Essentially, yeah. Among your 6 stats, you can't have any of those more than 5.
Yep.
Your stats
5
are
is the maximum a creature can have that is not granted by mutation.
There's the 6 stats are muscle, understanding, tenacity, appeal, nimbleness, toughness, and senses. Dan, why don't you tell us what those mean?
Scrolling down to stats right now because I can't remember the actual details on those things. Oh god, it puts those pretty far down. Hang on. There we go. Muscle, physical strength, and purely physical strength and health. It does nothing else. Does not affect your agility, anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding is your intelligence, reasoning, and memory. Tenacity is your willpower, your determination. It's also used for calculating health, and it's for you resisting influence or intimidation. Appeal is your charisma, your allure. It specifically does state it's not your attractiveness, but it's how charismatic you are. So just because you're appealing does not mean you can still be butt ugly.
Yeah.
Nimbleness is your coordination, your balances, reflex, dexterity. I've seen a lot of systems that like to mix muscle and nimbleness. So it's really weird how some systems do that.
Yeah, I find it rarer, but there is the occasional one that does that. I haven't seen it as much, to be honest. But yeah, it's pretty much a catch-all for all dex. In fact, I've seen more things split up nimbleness into 2 stats. Like, one being hand-eye coordination and one being like bodily balance and control.
And then there's toughness, which is well, that actually is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's your constitution, essentially.
Yep, and it also determines how quickly you heal, so that's a very important one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for anyone, you don't have that much health in this.
Yeah,
not hard to die. And then senses, your hearing, smell, taste, touch.
Perception turned into a stat.
Yeah.
All right.
And muscle, actually, at 5, the strongest you are is able to lift a heavy cruiser motorcycle.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still like bordering.
You can't be godlike.
But yeah, I've looked at the mutations. I think the highest you can get it is a 7, because I think there's 2 that increase strength, and those require perfect rolls if a player gets it.
Yeah. Speaking of mutations, that's where this is a good place to insert that. So there's a set of tables. Where are they? What page are they on?
Well, in the core, it starts on page 34.
Yep, there it is. So you can choose to be a mutant. And the way you be a mutant is you actually just roll on this table down here that determines what your mutation is. You roll 2d6, one for the column, 1 for the row. And whatever you get is what you get.
That's not how you do that. You roll 2d6, and you can choose which number goes on the column, which goes in the row.
Right. Still,
And you can flip them however you wish.
even so, what you get is randomized, and
Yes.
you get your
Unless
mutation.
your GM
That's what it
lets
is.
you pick.
Yeah. And if you take a flaw, you can get a second mutation. I
Yes.
believe is how it works. Now, the list is, while there is a grand total of 18 choices, which is nothing to sneeze at, they're all pretty basic, at least in core. You know, you got amphibious,
Yeah.
leaping, regenerative, armored, natural weapons, stealthy, echolocation, night vision, swift, enduring, patagia, toxic saliva, enhanced sense, prehensile appendage, wall crawler, hypermobile, prehensile feet, and winged. Some of them, most of them are really good, but some of them feel like kind of lame. Not gonna lie, like, I don't think I would really want echolocation. That seems pretty lame to me. Or
And they
enhanced
all
sense
do have
seems...
very visible effects on your character.
Yes. Now, what Dan was wanting to talk about is there is an expansion for this game called Irradiated Freaks, and that
Also
adds
Also free.
also free, adds tons of new mutations, like a whole bunch more tables and like full on
It
races.
separates them by types of species: amphibian, bird, bug,
Plant.
mammal.
You can be a plant. You can be a plant mutant. There is
Yes.
so much stuff there, and like it really expands upon this sort of bare bones mutations list, and really lets you get like some cool stuff going. In my
And
opinion.
then there's the fun table, which I would have all my players roll on. The Mondo Mutant Mayhem table.
Yes.
Where it gets rid of all of the species limits, and you roll to determine what table, and then you roll to determine your mutation. So you could have anything, no matter what you are.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get really crazy with it in that. And that, I will admit, that gives this game a little bit more of a fun edge to it instead of just being the sort of bare bones that it is. Like, if you want to get real wild with your game, check out that book. And on top of that, as a GM,
the expansion is what drew me into this game.
the expansion definitely makes it much more worthwhile. And on top of that, it's kind of it's practically a necessity for the GMs, because it adds a whole bunch of like mutated monsters in there that you can throw in as monster encounters, which always fantastic. Always a fantastic resource.
Well, it's really easy to create monsters with this too.
Yeah, this is true. So anyway, so that's the mutations. That's definitely where I at least feel like the fun factor is, because that's sort of the like extra goodies are.
It
That's
also
not
has
just
a ton of flaws
yeah.
that it adds in.
So anyway, going back to character creation, you would calculate health. It's based on your muscle tenacity and toughness. You record, and then here's the thing that I think is also, you record your natural skills, which everybody gets, at one level of, and then here's where I think it's actually kind of cool, that lets you sort of quickly make a character and like make what you want to be, but without making it like a whole process, like a whole like heavy process. You pick a rearing and a pursuit. So basically, how did you grow up, and that determines what some skills that you start with, and your pursuit determines the rest of your skills that you start with, as well as your equipment, which is great, because then you've got a character.
Pursuit is your adult life up to this point.
Yeah. It lets you get a character together really quickly and easily. It helps you sort of contextualize who your character is, and lets you have equipment without having to go through a whole shopping experience, which is always a pain in the ass with RPGs.
I don't think they're actually... You don't really get to shop.
Yeah. You don't. You just get your gear and you go.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of customization. At the end, you get 4 points to buy new skills for your character or improve existing ones to sort of round it out. And then you personalize it with a name and looks and all that stuff, and you're done. It's pretty quick. It's pretty great.
Yeah, because the stuff that would take longer in other systems is the mutation selection and the skill selection, which is all automatic.
Yeah.
Or rolling.
Exactly. So it's pretty quick to get into the action. with this game, which definitely appreciable. Definitely one of its upsides. Like, while the game itself may be basic, it's fast. It's definitely very fast, and that is definitely has a lot of appeal, especially in today's day and age where people just want to get into a game and don't want to have to learn a lot of rules.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's all sorts of, like, you can definitely get into a game and get quick. Then we got the whole list of rearings. It ranges from everything from like Bard Towner, Nomad, Feral, Stetter, Tribal Trog, and Remnant. They're pretty. The rearing is pretty limited. The pursuits have quite a few options.
Yeah, there's a lot more pursuits.
Yeah, there's a lot of pursuits, and it can range. It's very has a wide range. It can be anything from like an airman, beastmaster, bounty hunter. It can be you could be a raider if you want. You can be a pit fighter, scavenger, shaman, road warrior, skulk, wastelander. There's tons. There is tons
And
there.
depending on what you pick, you actually, this is related to something we'll be talking about later, you get more points, or even, oh well, no, actually quite a few of them don't get any points for vehicles, which are quite good in this game.
Yeah, so let's talk about gear, because that's kind of the last thing with this. There is, like, again,
Before vehicles.
this game doesn't have a ton to it, but in I would say that's both its weakness and its strength, because for someone who wants, to be like, as someone who likes having a game be designed to a setting, having a bare bones basic one isn't the most appealing to me, just because I like having that cool stuff that makes the system unique and makes my character feel unique. Which this just is, usually you're just pretty a regular Joe unless you're a mutant. But on the plus side, that means you can get into a game quickly, you can get it done, and you can learn it fast. And if you just want a lightweight, quick system to play your game, to play your post-apocalyptia,
It's amazing for one shot.
Perfect. It's a perfect system for that. Especially so for those who like lighter systems with just a more cinematic feel and don't want a ton of rules, fantastic. Definitely recommended for those sorts of people. So yeah, so the equipment, you got various armors and melee and guns. There's stuff. There's tables for it all good stuff, including
Including a trebuchet.
Including a trebuchet. And I think there's some more interesting weapons in here, right?
The best it has for tech-wise is rocket launchers, heavy machine guns, stuff like that. But the way the stats work, all of that, the damage, it's really easy to add more advanced stuff. So, I mean, you could quite easily add Fallout, if because I described it as Fallout, Mad Max meets Fallout. So you could quite easily add that stuff.
Yeah, there's not a ton here that's like there really isn't any like advanced weaponry. There's mostly
it's modern weaponry.
Yeah, it just goes up to modern. It definitely has more. It definitely leans much more heavily towards Mad Max. I would not even include Fallout in it.
I included the Fallout because of mutants. Fallout does have a lot of mutants in it.
Yeah, that's fair.
They leaned away from that, and once Bethesda got a hold of it.
Yeah. Fun things too. It does have chainsaw in here, and it does have a hedge trimmer, a gas-powered hedge trimmer, which is hilarious. But now let's get into the vehicles, because this is where I think it really does shine. Because cars and vehicles are everything in this game. They got quick stats. They tell you how many passengers it can carry, and apparently they are extremely customizable.
Yes. So everything has a point cost, which certain not rearings, pursuits get vehicle points. Some get only 10, some get 12, some get 20. For example, Dune Buggy costs 8 points base. So you would have 12 points left for customization. And there are tons of options for customizing. But there are tons of options you can just start with. There's, let's see. Where's some of the crazier options? There we go. Auto gyro. Costs 4 or 6 points. If you want to be able to have a passenger, costs 6 points. A hang glider costs 3 points. You can just start with owning a powered hang glider. So, motored hang glider. And you can customize that with 17 points of add-ons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you could make a powered hang glider that drops tons of bombs if you wanted.
Yeah, you got, emergency sail, you got glide, increased muscle, increased nimbleness, pivot shield, pivot turret, smoke dispenser, small armor. There's tons here. There's tons of stuff.
Bicycles that you can customize, because you can customize them.
Like, I would almost say this is worth, this is a great system, even, I'm not sure if I would go so far as to say that you could lift this wholesale and put it into another post-apocalyptic system, but it's damn close.
Yeah, if you had the time and effort to tweak it, it'd be great.
It is very, very well done.
It's simple, but effective.
Exactly. The fact that you're still using the quick and simple system for vehicle combat, when so many systems struggle to death with doing vehicle combat. It's fantastic because it's actually simple and understandable, and so many systems just trip and fall over themselves trying to figure out how to work vehicles into their game, and this does it effortlessly. And that alone is a huge strength in its favor.
And it even has the rule for adding customizations in play, because vehicles don't have a limit on how much you can customize them. It's 1 to 6 days plus 1 per cost of the customization.
Exactly.
And the difficulty is equal to half the cost of the customization rounded up.
Mm-hmm.
You require a garage, a skilled greaser,
and all that stuff.
It's difficult to modify vehicles. Plus, you have to have the modifications already to be tacked in.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared.
Exactly. And then I guess the last part, which is, I think, something that you can lift wholesale and take to any system, is the scavenging. Because
you can holy just fill in your own charts.
Holy crap, these charts are fantastic. They have, not only do they tell you sort of the sample scavenging locations to sort of tell you where you would be using the various tables in here, but these tables are amazing. They have so much stuff to them. There is so many things on these tables, and all of them are useful. You literally can take this to any post-apocalyptic system and have it be super useful, because so many post-apocalyptic systems are just just make up the scrap that they find on the spot, and it's well, that's the problem, is some people just aren't able to think of it like something creative and interesting and cool on the spot. But these give you the fantastic, just random stuff. It has all sorts of junk, phonograph,
antiques,
precious gemstones, Polaroid camera, briefs, bras, sweatpants, tank tops in terms of clothes, 50-pound bags of feed grain, a tractor tiller attachment, post hole diggers, balls of car wax, balls of degreaser, replacement mirrors, headlights, fuses, just everything you could think of, and then some. This system is worth a download just for these tables, even if you already have a post-apocalyptic game that you're playing, be it you're playing Deadlands Hell on Earth Classic, you're playing Mutant Year Zero, you're playing anything post-apocalyptic. These tables make the game, will make your game better. No matter what game you're playing, this will make your game better if it
And it's
has.
not hard to adjust them. If there's stuff on there you don't want in there, you toss that out, add something else that you have in your game in.
Exactly. It's so easy. It's great for that. And like just like this is the best part of the system for me. Not gonna lie, just because you can take it anywhere, and you can use it with anything. It's great.
And when it comes to rolling on the tables, the GM doesn't have to do any of the loot rolling for the players. They literally, say they're looting a hospital. They tell them, okay, you can roll twice on the automotive, once on housewares, 3 times on medical, and let them roll.
Yeah, exactly. Done. Is there anything else to this system?
I mean, we can go over the psychic powers, but that's kind of covered under the mutations.
Yeah.
They actually aren't that OP. Some of them are not that great. Some of them are really good, but it kind of goes hand in hand with special powers.
Yeah.
Like the electric one, because you really go over them the best in the expansion. Because there's very few in the core. There's only 4 of them.
Right.
3 of them in the core: remote viewing, telekinesis, and telepathy.
They're
telekinesis is
They're all pretty much. Like telekinesis, I think, is the only one that can be used for attacking, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The 3 in the core are solid. They're all good. But the thing about all your powers is it's actually almost impossible to use them unless it's a calm situation.
Yeah. So they're very much so like utility powers.
Yes. The ones that are added in the expansion are really good, like metal bending.
Oh yeah.
You can literally treat metal like clay if you have it at the highest, your tenacity at 5. Anything you can grip, you can just treat it like clay if it's metal. So you can go up to a metal wall and just swipe your hand through it, put a big old gouge through it.
Or even better, you just, you jump over to someone else's car that you're in combat with and you just tear it to shreds.
That's a difficulty 5 check.
Yeah. Even so.
Good luck on that one, or you're burning some points.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the system. Like I said, it's basic. It's great if you want something simple and straightforward, post-apocalyptic, and you want it just to be more cinematic than rules heavy.
Or if you have someone who really likes to build their own world.
Yes.
If you have a GM who does that, it's an amazing one because they can build their own world, and it won't matter that it doesn't have one.
Yeah, because you can build your own world. It's a great toolbox, and it's setting agnostic. It won't, it will play nice with any world you create. And it's simple enough that you can tinker with it to put in the stuff that you want to have in there.
Oh, the one thing we did forget. Alternate races.
Right. That's in the other book.
The expansion starts on page 20.
Yeah, I'll have to pull that up. Let me see if I can actually pull that up. Wait, actually, it should be relatively easy. There we go.
They actually get, like, you can be a humanoid frog. They actually get some more extra attributes. They get special abilities like amphibious, burrow, depending on the type of frog. Different senses.
Yeah, you have humanoid frogs. You can have a humanoid eagle, which is super dumb.
The art for that is hilarious.
It's so stupid, and I love it. Humanoid ostrich, which is even dumber.
These books.
Yeah, but yeah, you can have there's tons of races. You can do all sorts of humanoid animals. You can do the snake one is really stupid too. You can do humanoid plants, which is actually really cool, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And all of these have adjusted skills.
They have natural mutations and flaws. They start with varying attribute points that you get to spend, depending on different things.
Yeah.
So They're very different, and you cannot pick extra mutations if you pick one of these.
Yeah,
You
because
just
they are
are.
coming with a ton right in there.
Yep.
But even so, they're really cool, and like I said, this really adds the fun factor in my opinion. Like if you want to play
The
something,
expansion is what makes it to me.
yeah, for sure.
That's what really made me like it so much.
Mm-hmm. And with that, I guess we can wrap up this episode.
It's a lot shorter.
It's definitely a lot shorter. There wasn't as much to go over with this episode, but I mean, yeah, hey, sometimes that's what you got. It's a simple system. You get a simple episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see you next time. This show is going to be releasing on Fridays, I believe, every other week. And
so.
Next time, hopefully, we'll be coming at you with a developer joining us to talk about their system. I hope. I'm not going to promise that right now, and I'm not going to say what the system is, just in case we don't do it. If we can't arrange it. But in the meantime,
we'll try.
But in the meantime, that's something that you have to look forward to. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and feel free to check out Atomic Highway. It's pretty cool.
Link will be in the description.
Yeah, there'll be a link in the description.
Hopefully.
Thank you all for watching. Tune in next time. We'll see y'all later.
Yep.